Hello and welcome to the second edition of the Titans Ever On podcast. I'm joined once again by my two brothers, Michael Lytle and David Lytle. We're going to just jump right in. We don't want to waste a lot of time. How's everybody doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Lovely.
All right, so we'd like to just make this quick, make it as fast as possible so we don't take too much of your time. We'll go right into reflections of the game. How do we feel about Monday Night Football against the Broncos? Mike, how do you feel about the Broncos game?
It was a little bit frustrating with the kicking game. Overall, though, a win is a win, so we'll take it. I actually recorded the game, and after the third missed field goal, I stopped and went to sleep, and then I got up early and watched it the next morning without knowing what had happened. I just couldn't take any more that night.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't actually know who won until, I don't know, 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever time it was, Tuesday morning. So Tuesday was really great because everything that happened from that point on was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think, did he miss an extra point still? I think he missed an extra point on Tuesday morning for me, but otherwise everything was mostly good. So, but yeah, I mean, like last week we were talking, I mean, I think I said it, that, it's good to have a good kicker and we won't have those issues again. And then what in the world? Immediately we have those issues. So
it's never been worse. Like, that is the worst kicking performance possible. I mean, there's probably been more missed kicks, but that is about as bad.
He did get to redeem himself.
Sort of, yeah. A little bit of redemption.
Yeah.
Although, like, if you miss a 20-yarder or 25-yarder or whatever, like, you don't even need to be a high school kicker. That's craziness. But no, obviously the kicking is the big story. I do have a question about that. We can kind of discuss the kicking later. The game itself, like, we were obviously the better team. I just think it was, just watching a lot of those week one games, very sloppy, and blocking was very bad. I felt like both quarterbacks were just rushed as, like crazy every time they went. Like, Tannehill had no time. Henry had no lanes until kind of later on in the game. He started to have a little bit, and then the same thing was true of the other team too. The Broncos were kind of in the same boat. So, anyway, yeah, I think so. It kind of equaled out, and the better team won, and we should have won by several scores, but instead we just won by a last-minute field goal.
Yeah, so Mike, you didn't get to experience it in real time.
No.
And have to live with the sort of the dread of that kick. You got to sleep on it, so maybe sort of.
Right now, I was still very nervous on Tuesday when I watched it because I didn't know if he was going to make it or not. So, yeah.
Two of my sons, two of my boys were already in bed because they're just too young to stay up that late. And then my oldest, who's a senior in high school, he stayed up. And anytime the games are close, especially late in the game, he'll start pacing. He'll just stand up and pace. He can't sit down. He gets too nervous. So he was pacing the whole, like the last drive where they drove down the field. And we're both just sitting there going, they're playing for a field goal. Like, they're wasting too much time. They're just going to kick a field goal. I'm like, why? Why would they ever think that kicking a field goal is a good idea? They did take the shot to the end zone to Brown, which Tannehill overthrew, but, which would have been cool had they completed that. But, I was just like, this is my worst nightmare, to have a team that is clearly the better team and your kicker cannot do his job just on the most basic level. Like that would have been. So
but I'm glad it ended. I'm glad it ended the way it did.
Yeah, it makes me feel like hopefully that kind of like, I think kickers are like psychological. Like they can kind of psych themselves out and they can get into these kind of go these downward spirals if they start having some bad luck. And hopefully that kick will kind of right the ship for him, because That was ugly. That was hard to watch.
Yeah,
So
I would just like to say, I mean, this is a good thing about living on the West Coast because my word, a game coming on at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9:15, whatever, Central Time, and ending at what was it, like 1:30 in the morning? Is that when it ended
no, it wasn't that
for you
late.
guys?
It wasn't
Wasn't
that late. The game started. The game started here at like 9. It was after 9 o'clock. It was like nine
yeah,
fifteen.
9:20, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, and it ended like at 12:30, right around
12:30. Okay,
12:30.
so it's 1:30 Eastern
Yeah,
Time. Okay, but still, yeah, like
yeah,
I mean, for me, I mean, it ended like at 10:30, so it was just like, okay,
yeah.
not a big deal. But I don't know why they would schedule a game that late unless it's two West Coast teams. But
which is
anyway,
usually what they do on
yeah,
the second Monday night game. I thought that was
Yeah.
odd. It's usually like the Raiders and the Chargers, or
yeah,
the Broncos, or somebody that's at least
at least
mountain time, yeah, or Pacific.
So it's like a short week now too for the Titans having to play the late Monday night game and then
yeah.
playing
Yeah, and then,
the noon game on Sunday. So besides the kicking game being terrible and just sort of a little bit of the sloppiness of it, which I agree, it was most of the games that I saw in the first weekend, you could tell there was some rust. And as much as the preseason is terrible, I do think it kind of helps get the teams a little bit more of a rhythm. And so I felt like there was a little bit of a little bit of sloppiness. Maybe not as bad as
I
Dave thought, but it was.
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree that some things are sloppy, but I thought it was going to be worse, honestly. So it's across the league. I mean,
Yeah,
without any preseason, and then with just the weirdness of the way training camp was, and this year compared to
yeah.
other years. I mean,
So
I thought it looked like football, and it wasn't awful. I mean, across all the games. So, um,
so
Yeah.
who to get a little bit more specific about the game and our sort of impressions and sort of what we felt about it. Who were some of the guys, some of the players that you felt really stood out and looked really good, both offense and defense, and who were some of the people that you'd like to see play better in the next game or even going forward? Like who kind of your winners and losers? Like who was somebody that jumped out to you, and who was somebody that was like they did not have a good game? We need them to play better if we're going to have a good successful season.
I'll take that. I would say on offense, Corey Davis. I mean, he played like he's been supposed to. He got drafted in the first round, right? And he's been a fifth round.
Number 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was like, he's played. He's never been awful, but he's never been a top probably 20 receiver in the league.
oh,
This whole time, and so obviously he hasn't been doing what he got picked to do, but he had a great game. I mean, I felt like with the Broncos, they were totally playing up for the run. They weren't letting Henry have any space, and yeah, we did what we had to do, which was get it. He was getting open all the time as long as Tannehill had time to get rid of the ball, and I mean, he was able. It was pretty easy to find him downfield, and he was, so he played great. And Simmons on defense, it was good to see again, like two high draft picks, like doing what they got money to do. It was good to see him just again not letting the Broncos do much, especially on that goal line stand. So
Yeah.
those are my two. Those are probably the two more obvious ones.
yeah. I'll go with, and I agree with Dave's picks, but I'll go with Bayard or Bayard if you are certain commentators.
Yeah.
That I think he had 8 or 9 tackles. Recovered the fumble. I think he had at least one pass that he broke up.
Didn't
Sorry,
he?
Phil.
Mhm.
Didn't he cause the fumble, or did he recover the
Sorry,
fumble?
caused. Yeah,
He called
that's
it.
what I meant.
Yeah, he caused
Simmons
it.
recovered. You're right. Yeah, caused the fumble. Yeah, forced the fumble. Yeah. Anyway, so he was real solid on defense. And then I like that they still Henry got 30 plus carries. He wasn't having a lot of big gains. I mean, he didn't have. I think his long was 13 yards, 12 or 13.
Yeah, 13.
So not a lot of huge gains, but they stuck with him. And
That was huge.
early, it seems like early in seasons in the past they get away from that, and then they figure it out somewhere in the last 6 or 7 games. Oh, let's just keep giving it to him. But the last 2 years, he's ended the years great. But early in the year, they just either they try something different or they get away from the run. So it was good to see that. Yeah, I think this is gonna be the way this team plays. We're gonna give this guy the ball. It may not be 31 times every game. Probably doesn't need to be.
No.
Definitely doesn't need to be. But getting those 20 to 25 touches or carries, plus passes here and there. I liked that was the game plan, and they stuck with it, and I think that is a good sign moving forward.
Yeah,
I agree. That was very good to see.
The loser, if you would be, in my opinion, Steve Levy on the call. Yeah, I know this is his first year, and ESPN can't seem to figure out how to get a booth for Monday Night Football, but he wasn't great. He's a longtime Sports Center anchor, and he sounded like he was doing highlights on Sports Center more than he was calling a game.
Yep.
And he might get better.
Yeah.
But he's one of those Sports Center anchors that's been doing it forever, but it's never really been that great, in my opinion. I could name a couple others, but maybe we don't want to. I guess we're keeping this podcast positive. I don't know, mostly. But there's certain anchors that do it forever, but they're never really were that good. He's kind of one of those. He's just been okay. And then so it's like now you're the Monday Night Football guy, and you're not good at that really at all. But maybe he'll improve.
Yeah.
And go ahead. I have one other loser, but
no, go with your loser. That's cool.
It's not a person. It's in the first half, the Titans could not guard the tight end, which they always struggle guarding tight ends for some reason and covering them. They don't cover tight ends well. It doesn't matter who the head coach is. It doesn't matter who the defensive coordinator is, who the players are. If there's a tight end out there, he's gonna get open against the Titans.
Honestly, I think it's a design. Like I think there's unless you have stars all across the field, you have to sort of be willing to give up something, and they're willing to give up yards to the tight end.
So the second half they did.
They can contain everything else.
Yeah, we call it the Antonio Gates corollary, but because he always would kill us.
Yeah, but he killed a lot of teams, though. So
yes, he did.
Well, maybe if we are going to say a loser on the Titans, Evans for
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
It's something that happens and doesn't always get warrant a disqualification, but I guess technically it should, and it sucks to have your leader of your defense out in the first, what was that, the first possession or I mean it was early on.
Yeah,
it was
pretty, that was, it kind of got me nervous because all of a sudden I was like, okay, Denver might be able to, you take away, we have our corner Jackson out, and then now Evans out, like our defense, well, especially for passing and things like that, is starting to get very porous, but they did okay.
Yeah, there was one point toward the end of the first half where the veteran cornerback they brought in, Joseph, was hurt, and Adori's out. They were playing two rookie cornerbacks.
Yeah. And
you're just like, man, I don't care how talented a rookie cornerback is, they're still rookies, and they can get fooled, they can be out of position, and they held up well. I mean, I know Denver's not some sort of juggernaut on offense, but I mean they kept them to 14 points, and they had a good goal line stand, and they played a good defensive game. So I was impressed with how they kind of held up, even though they were clearly banged up and limited on some of their, at least during some portions of the game. Because I think Joseph came back in the second half. I think he played some in the second half. But I thought it was cool to see Adam Humphries kind of really play his role that
Yeah.
they brought him for. And there was that one third down that I think Greasy even said he's lined up opposite of like some rookie cornerback. They're like, why he's like, watch Adam Humphries lined up in the slot against the rookie. And of course, Humphries goes out, does this little curl,
Yeah, called it.
just sets up right there, and
Yeah.
Tannehill hits him first down. He just knows where the line is. He's going to catch it. He made some really tough catches in that game.
Yeah, he did.
Tannehill
Yeah.
wasn't putting them right on the money. He was having to like kind of jump up in the air or really like stretch for it. And he's getting hit and held on to it. So if they could have that all season long, plus some of the other weapons that they have, I mean, that's just such a huge thing to have. A guy like that who's just he's not gonna make big time, 40-yard catches, but if you move the chains, that's a backbreaker for a defense. So that was cool. I don't really have any losers other than the ones you guys have already mentioned. I mean, I don't think anybody else really deserved to be singled out that much. I thought most of the guys played pretty well. Obviously, I think most guys didn't play. I don't think anybody really played great, except for probably Corey Davis and maybe Adam Humphries and Simmons. But I think everybody has room for improvement. But I don't think anybody just jumped off as being, man, that guy was just terrible. He had a horrible game. So
It was really good to see Tannehill coming, okay, he did it in the end of last year, but being able to go in and, lead the team with his arm, first game of the season. And I mean, it's not like he just had this amazing game. It's not like he threw a bunch of touchdowns, but he just had, he got plenty of yards and yeah, it was a solid game for a starting quarterback in the NFL. So, it was a good game for a starting quarterback in the NFL. I'm curious, Phil. Can you give us, if you know this, can you give us a injury update? Who are we going to be missing going into next week?
Well, Adoree will still be out. I know that Brown and AJ Brown and Davis both missed practice. Obviously, Corey Davis missed some practice last week too with a hamstring, but then he played fine. My guess is they're just limiting him because they don't want to overwork him, and they feel confident he knows the game plan and be fine. Brown, I'm a little bit more concerned about because I don't really know what went wrong, like what happened. And they said
Yeah.
he had something wrapped around his leg at some point, around his knee.
Hmm.
So I haven't heard anything official. It could have been. I haven't really been on Twitter since like 4:00 this afternoon. So there could have been.
Is Lawan okay?
As far as I know, yeah, he came back in and played. So I haven't heard that he, they're not expecting him to play or anything. So I think
We just
overall-
always get a weekly Lawan injury scare.
Yeah.
That's
So I think overall they came out of it pretty healthy. I don't think you didn't have any major injuries from that game, and unless if you lose Brown, that obviously is going to hurt. To lose one of your best receivers, but I think they could even survive that, especially with who they're playing. So, and I don't want to undersell.
shots fired.
I don't want to undersell the Jags. That is who they're playing, right? They're playing the Jags.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're playing the Jags.
And it's a home game, which doesn't really mean a whole lot nowadays because they won't have any fans yet. But so let's just move into what we think about week 2, the matchups, sort of our expectations, our predictions for this first divisional game of the season for the Titans, second for the Jags, who are coming off of a kind of a surprising victory over Indy. So what do you guys think? What do you think of the Jags, and what do you think this game's going to look like? Miguel, you can go first.
I think Jacksonville has some talent on offense, and can score some points. I don't think their defense has got a whole lot. I mean, they've lost guys and gotten rid of guys. So I still think the Titans should definitely win, and it should not be close. I don't think they beat Indy, I know, but I'm still not really sold that Jacksonville's that great, except I do think that they can score some points. But my prediction, 28-17 Titans.
Oh, we're gonna actually give score predictions.
I just,
No,
Okay.
I'll do it too. I've got I have a feeling for a score, so we'll do this.
That's what I'm doing. I'm not putting any pressure on you guys. You guys do whatever you feel comfortable with.
I've got to think of what I would say for a score, but yeah, I just have really no faith in the Jags whatsoever. Like, I mean, I'm surprised they beat the Colts, but the Colts are also not a great team. I don't think either of those teams are playoff teams, so I don't think they have a chance. Obviously, everybody has a chance. Yeah, Jacksonville's they've gotten rid of so much talent, like on defense and Fournette. And anyway, so I think the Titans are going to win by 14. So let's say 28-14.
Okay. I
Two
like
scores.
that. I don't want the Titans to. I hope they don't go into the game overconfident. I hope they don't go into the game thinking the Jags have been dumping a bunch of their players and they don't want to win, because clearly Jacksonville still has enough pride as a team to play to win. They beat the Colts, and the Colts were a favored team. And I mean, there's a lot of people in the preseason that have been picking the Colts to win the division.
Yep.
There were a lot of people that were picking. There were people that picked the Colts to go to the Super Bowl. Stupid, but whatever. Because Phillip Rivers at age whatever,
Yeah,
39, 40, is going to lead a team to the Super Bowl for the first time in his career. But I still think Jacksonville has enough. Maybe getting rid of a lot of the guys they got rid of, maybe the people they still have actually want to be there. Maybe it wasn't just these guys were stuck on a bad team. Maybe some of the people that left were somewhat of a cancer to the team. I don't know. I'm speculating. So maybe the team at this point is just a bunch of scrappy guys that are just going to play hard, and you never know. You don't want to take those people lightly. So I hope the Titans just go in there and beat up on Gardner. How do you say his last name? I've heard it pronounced different ways. Is it Minshew?
just sneeze. Chris Berman just sneezes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can just do that.
Which is appropriate.
Yeah.
I think the Titans are going to beat them, and I think they're going to beat them pretty handily. I think it could be around 31-14, 31-13, something in that range.
Yeah. Just don't let them listen to this podcast before the game. We don't want them to get overconfident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need a podcast where we put them down. Not that they're going to listen to it, but
right.
as, where it fuels them, like Jordan.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how terrible they are.
Yeah. I mean, we can do that. I could totally change my prediction if that would help.
It would be great for the Titans to start off 2-0 and 1-0 in the division and 2-0 in the conference. And you want to start off fast, and you don't want to have any hiccups early. So this would be good. So yeah, I hope they can pull it off. I hope they play as good as they can, because then I think if they do, they're by far the better team, and it shouldn't even really be close. So next question, and this I think is the most important question of the night, and we can park here for a little bit because I do think this was the one we need to really dive into and examine. Brett Kern, Hall of Famer? Is that
so? There's one punter in the Hall of Fame. Is that right?
One punter in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Well, there needs to be two.
There needs to be two. Are we?
Apparently.
Okay. Okay. I said this to a friend of mine that's a big football fan, and he just laughed at me. And he's like, "There's no punters in the Hall of Fame, other than like one or whatever." And he's like, "He's not even the best punter in the league." And I went and I looked, and I'm like, "So who is considered?" I mean, he's consistently a Pro Bowler, but there are other punters that are considered better, like by at least some people. And I don't watch every other team, and I certainly don't look out for their punters. But I've been watching the Titans every game for years, and I've never been disappointed with Brett Kern. He has been so good for so long, and there's rarely a game where he could have been better, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
even like you rarely have a punt where it's like, oh, if only it could have, this could have happened. It's like he does the best job possible, and he's been doing it for how many years now? How many years has he been?
I have no idea. Over 10. I mean,
I'll Google it. You don't have to wait for me.
dead air. Okay, yeah. I agree. I agree. Kern has. It's. I can't even recall him having a game where you're like, man, what happened to Kern today? He was just terrible. He's
Yeah.
had occasional bad punts, but he's typically almost 99% of the time he's one of the best players on the field. Like he comes off the field and you're like, he did his job
Yeah.
exactly how he was supposed to.
This is his 11th season with the Titans.
Yeah.
And he's been in the Pro Bowl 3 times, so he's clearly not a Hall of Famer. But
Oh, he is.
Whatever. As far as that position, I don't know who's didn't Bill Belichick say he was the best player on the team?
At one point, yeah.
I think it was last year. He was like, "Well, their punter's the best player," or something like that.
That's a classic Belichick jab at the other team. So he's going to compliment somebody, but at the same time, he's putting down everybody else.
Yeah, but
So,
he wasn't wrong.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so
yeah.
here's my question: is going to the kicking game. I'm very curious about this because last year we made that playoff run, and in the playoff run, during that time, at the end of the season, everything, we had an atrocious kicking game, unreliable kicking game. And I feel like there may actually be some virtues to having a bad field goal kicking game. And here's my argument. My argument is when you play with mid-range field goals as not an option, right? When you play where it has to be, you have to get in, within 25 yards or, a 25, 30-yard field goal to even be an option. And so you're going to change your mentality on third down. And you're going to maybe go for it on fourth and short. So if
Dave's got the are we doing an Aaron Sorkin walk and talk here?
sorry,
I'm what's happening?
my kids.
Do we all need to get up and walk around with Dave? Like so that we feel like we're all like together?
My children keep on coming in, and I'm trying to reduce the noise because then they yell at each other when they come in. Anyway, so that's my argument. So like, if you have a different mentality, if you don't play for the field goals, you call different plays on third down, and perhaps you actually increase your odds of winning. And obviously, it doesn't help to like miss 4 makeable kicks, but I don't know. Are there some good things? Like, was this why we won why we went to the AFC Championship last year?
I know that over the last decade, as analytics have become more and more accepted in the game, teams go for it on fourth down a whole lot more than they used to. Coaches are so scared to go for it on fourth down. And now, I mean, the numbers have gone, I mean, obviously this year's young, but last year compared to like 2011, it had changed dramatically, especially in certain parts of the fields where coaches are just a lot more willing to go for it on fourth down. So this is almost like the next level of that, where you're just not only just going for it on fourth down in certain parts of the field, but you're pretty much, setting aside the kicking game and you're going to just play a completely different way.
Yeah, if you're on the 30-yard line and it's 3rd and 8, okay? If you have to get a first down or kick a field goal, kick like a 45-yarder or whatever, then you're going to definitely pass. And you're going to limit your playbook to certain things that are like 10-yard passes or whatever. But if that's not the case, then if you're not going to kick a field goal, then you might go for it on fourth down instead. I don't know.
You can run the ball. You can do a short pass and get half of it on third. And yeah, I don't think there's enough. There's not enough of a sample size to have the analytic part be. They're not enough where they can say, oh, the probabilities of this, statistically, are greater, and you'll have an X percentage chance of making it. Not enough people have done it, so we really don't know. But it's an interesting. I didn't know you were going to actually get into all that, but I like where your head's at, Dave. It's a good theory.
I think the Titans ought to be the team that tests out this theory this year.
If we have another game,
yeah,
if
he's missing field goals again, I think you just go, look, any kick. If the field goal is over 35 yards, we're not even going to think about field goals.
And we kind of did that last year.
Yeah,
like Dave was saying, but it was out of necessity, not out of this is our strategy. At least I guess it was. I mean, I don't think it was their. It's not what they wanted to do, I don't think. But if they just go into it and be like, no, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, well, sometimes strategy is out of necessity.
Right.
So,
well, once Dave explained when he first said the premise, I thought this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But when he explained it, I really do think that maybe the mentality of your team changes, and that might not be a bad thing. That there's you kind of have there's a switch that gets flipped in the way that you view the game. I thought Dave was shushing me. I'm like, what did I do? But yeah, so like you treat third downs differently. You go for it on fourth down more often. There's kind of like a more of a killer mentality that you're gonna score 7 and not 3. And 3 only happens if you get inside of a certain point, and then you're like, okay, well, we can kick a field goal here because we trust our guy to kick at least, what is basically now an extra point. But we're not going to even consider a field goal from further back. So yeah, I think it sounds great. Let's do it.
I think if this podcast wins any awards, it will be because of this segment that we've just been. Because no one else is talking about this.
Oh my goodness!
No, no one else is talking about this.
Necessity is the mother of invention, and our awful kicking game is going to be the mother of this new approach to field goals in the NFL.
Change football. I still want to hold out hope that it was a bad week. He got one of them blocked.
I hope so too.
He's going to be fine. He's coming off an injury from, the previous year. Didn't play. How many games did he play last year? Any?
I don't even know.
I don't remember when he got hurt, but
yeah.
So I'm hoping that it was a hiccup and it's not going to be. This is who he is, and we got another year of this. But if it is going to be that way, then we need to send this in to the team, and they need to put it into place.
The next time he kicks, I mean, every fan is going to be like,
yeah,
we're just going to be clinched and just.
He's got to put together a couple good games.
Yeah.
Where
All right. So to try to get out of here in about a time that we would like to, a little over 30 minutes, to close out. This is just kind of an over-under. And you guys can give your final predictions, and then we'll close it out for the night. Over-under, how many Jacksonville Jaguars does Derrick Henry stiff arm into oblivion?
What counts as oblivion?
In one play.
Well, if you watch the 99-yarder,
the
first 2 stiff arms are into oblivion. The third one was more of just kind of a glance and get off.
Okay.
But the first 2 were pretty. I mean, did you see the Corey Davis stiff arm on the sideline?
Yeah, that one was.
That's a stiff arm into oblivion. That was he went to the Derrick Henry school of stiff arm, which I think the Titans need to do a commercial where Derrick Henry's teaching the other skill players how to stiff arm.
That'd be nice.
They're all practicing it. And then they can just show clips of all of them stiff arming people in the game because they're all doing it now. Everybody's just throwing people around.
That's good. That's good.
Awesome.
I'm afraid one day Henry's going to break a wrist. He might be as stout as can be, but can your wrist hold up? I don't know.
His probably can.
I have no idea, but I'm going to predict over 150 yards That sounds mild for Henry, honestly, against the Jags. But that's my prediction.
Yeah, that's a bad game
And-
against them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, like he's had over
Disappointing.
he's had
Yeah.
200-yard games like every every game for the past couple years. But
150 yards. Is he going to get injured in the second quarter? What is that about? I don't know about the yards, but I'm saying like 5 stiff arms into oblivion.
into oblivion.
I hope so. It'll be great if it
A
happens.
couple will be on one play, and then he'll have some others scattered throughout.
All right.
What's your number, Phil?
I'm thinking about 4. I think you'll get about 4 good ones in. But I think you'll have a good game. You know, if history is any indicator, he plays some of his best football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this could be a fun afternoon for Titans fans if he plays up to that
I
standard.
hope so.
So
Yeah.
we didn't get any really big explosive plays against the Broncos.
Right.
Like, and the Titans have been like, once Tannehill took over, and even before that, on some level, explosive plays was a big part of their offense. Like, that was like a big focus and really wanting to build explosive plays into it. And we didn't have any. They had to earn everything they got against Denver.
Yeah.
So it would be good to have a couple of those crack open, whether it's a receiver or a big run by Henry. So that'll be cool. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I think that wraps everything up, unless you guys have any final thoughts that you want to leave with our listeners, thank you, everybody who did listen to our first podcast. We appreciate it. And for the 1 or 2 people that actually pressed the like button, if you do like our podcast, press the like button and share it with your friends as well. That would be cool. But yeah, I don't have anything
Did
else.
anybody give it a thumbs down?
No, we don't have any. No,
Okay.
thumbs down.
So 100% positive.
But now that you say that, there's at least one person that would listen
Right,
to
yeah.
what I know of right now. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to name him, but he will absolutely give it a thumbs down.
Yeah.
So
Haters gonna hate.
haters are going to hate.
Are we still saying that? Is that cool to say?
You can still say it, Mike. You're over.
Speaking of haters gonna hate, Taylor Swift's new album has a song with Bon Iver.
Yeah.
It is really good. And it's a great song.
I saw it on there. I hadn't listened to that song.
Check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I it was just on in the
I
background.
saw saw that it was.
Yeah.
Taylor's dead to me.
No, I mean it was on, and I went to Jackie and I was like, "This is a really cool song," and she's like, "It's Taylor Swift's new album." I was like, "I can't believe I got trapped." Like now I can't take it back.
Oh
Can we edit that out of the podcast?
no. I will top that. I will top that story. This is a worse story. I don't even remember where I was. I think I was at one of Wesley, my youngest son's football games, and they were playing over the sound system. They were playing popular music, and I don't even recognize half the songs that they're playing. And some song came on, and I was listening to it. And I was like, that's a pretty cool song. I'm like, you know what? That would actually go well on one of the playlists that we're putting together for Ramblin' Ever On. And so I Shazammed it, which, they probably have a new app for that. It's hip, and like all the 20-year-olds and teens are like, what's a Shazam? But I Shazammed it so I knew what song it was. It was Justin Bieber. And
Man.
Wow.
I felt very embarrassed for myself, and it's now recorded that I Shazammed that song. Like, I cared enough to find out who sang this.
And you cannot delete any of Shazam's history.
No,
It's
permanent. It's on my permanent record.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, that's about the lowest I'll ever go in my life, and hopefully it's all
gosh.
It's all
this is
uphill from there.
This is a Titans podcast / pop music confession booth.
Yeah.
It's like,
hey, if we could bring in some pop culture,
Yeah.
the Titans talk, that would be great. So, all right, well, guys, thanks for joining us, and we'll let you go. Hopefully, when we come back next week, we will be celebrating another win, and all of our predictions will at least be somewhat close. And yeah, you guys have a good night.
Peace.
And I'll see you guys later.
Okay.